Peace and greetings to you. My name is Shema, and today we have Ustazah Farhana Munshi who is with us. And welcome to the first episode of Coffee with Ustazah, and welcome on board, Ustazah Farhana. We are very blessed to have Ustazah to come and speak with us about mental health issues, which we will be, God willing, discussing more in depth on the mental health issues. So for this episode, we are looking at a mental issue that is quite I would say a taboo that not many people, either not many people know about or not many people want to talk about. So, but it is very prevalent among our youth society, and we are very concerned because such mental issues have led to extreme measures such as suicide and so on. And so we actually want to share a little bit about what Ustazah Farhana does. Would you like to share with us a little bit about your background before we begin?
Okay, thank you, Shaima. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. My name is Farhana Munshi, Ustazah Farhana Munshi. I was from NUS previously. I graduated from NUS in 2010. And then thereafter, I went to study for a while in Syria, and then thereafter I went to Yemen for 4 years and studied Islam there. So now I came back around 2017, right, where I began to teach the religion, right, primarily here in MASJID KHALID, right, and other parts of Singapore where I teach the religion.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. Thank you for sharing with us on a little bit background of Ustazah. So this is important because we would like to actually have an Islamic perspective on mental health issues, because for us Muslims, we have Islam, which is more than a religion; it's a way of life. So coming from Ustazah's perspective, we would like to know what is the approach you think that is prevalent, or what is the Islamic approach on depression and anxiety, which is our topic, by the way, depression and anxiety among youth. Is it stereotypical to say that for depression it means that your iman is weak, your faith is weak, or you lack the knowledge? What is your perspective, Ustazah, can share?
When we speak about things like depression, anxiety, and everything, and as you said, Islam, it is indeed it's a way of life. And our Prophet ﷺ, right, he has taught us everything. Like everything. The companions said that he used to teach us everything that you would need to know about life. And definitely depression, sadness, anxiety is something that is very natural to the human experience. Like every human being goes through these things. So we don't have to actually look further than the life of our Prophet ﷺ. And this, some of the scholars, they have said this is what we call sunnah mawaqif, right, which is basically you look into the life of Rasulullah ﷺ, right, and you will find instances throughout his life whereby you will pull out a principle from these instances and you will apply it in our time till the day of judgment.
I see.
And that's one of his miracles. The 23 years of his mission, that 23 years, it covers every single situation that can afflict humanity till the end of time. Right? And you can find everything in there. Right? That is what the scholars say is one of the mu'jizat, one of the miracles of our Prophet ﷺ. So when you look at something like depression, anxiety, feeling low about the self, right, do we find it in the life of Rasulullah ﷺ, or do we find it in the companions around Rasulullah ﷺ? Of course we do, right, because it's something very natural to human beings. Depression, right, depression is what it is natural for a human being to feel sad, to feel low in times in life, because we're in the dunya, we're in the world, and we're not in Jannah. It's not paradise. So of course you will feel sad. Of course things will happen that will bring you down. This is the nature of the world. It's how Allah created the world. Right? That is natural. Right? What happens is that when it's left, that's where the problem happens. When it's left, when it's not addressed, it's not recognized. It's left to sit inside the human being, right? And that is when shaitan begins to play, right? right? And then he brings it to a place of, like some would say, a place of no return. But as believers, we don't believe in a place of no return. There's always return.
Oh, okay.
You can always return and turn things around, no matter where you are while you're in this world. So when we go into the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was one situation. It was narrated, right, that he came to the masjid one day, and there was a man in the masjid, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we're going to look at this entire situation, and we're going to see the prophetic stances, right? Stances meaning the principles from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by which we see how a human being, who is our leader and our guide for all human beings, in fact, right, how he approached the situation. So he came into the mosque, and he noticed something peculiar, which was, there was a man in the mosque, and this man was not known to be in the mosque at this time of the day. It was not prayer time, and specifically for this person, you know, and his name was Abu Umama, right? Specifically for him, he was not known to be in the mosque at that time. So you see, Rasulullah sallallahu our first lesson here, to notice something odd, right? Something is strange, right? He didn't just allow it to happen. He went to the man. And this again, you know, we see prophetic teachings. You know how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's so observant with his companions. He knows when their behavior is off. Something's not right with the behavior. This is the first thing we see about Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's a sunnah that we have lost. You know, to know people's norm. Right, you know, their behavior, their norm. Because people who are going through depression and anxiety or difficulty, they won't tell people. They hide it. You know, they hide it. It's the nature of human beings, because they feel embarrassed. Right? They feel something's wrong with them. They feel, you know, they don't want to cry. Right? Most human beings are afraid to cry in front of other human beings. So it's natural for human beings not to show. So you can't even force them to show. You know, because it's natural to run. Right, to run and to hide. Right, that's a natural, you know, behavior of someone going through depression or anxiety. That's the first thing. So what is on those who are around them is to know when they are off their norm. You know, this is not their normal behavior. Something's not right, and it's very slight. So he came into the mosque. The story goes, he came to the mosque, saw this man over there, and it's not his usual time to come to the masjid. So he goes to the man and he says, why do I see you here at this timing? It's not prayer timing. It's not your usual time to come to the mosque. And the man said, Ya Rasulullah, I am feeling heavy. You know, I am feeling bogged down. I have problems. I have worries. And I have debt. Right. So you see, you know, the man opened up right at that point. Right. But it only happens when you actually notice it. Right, so you see, he had some not seen or observed this peculiar behavior right, in the man. It's not normal behavior, and it's gone past and gone on with his own business, his own life, and not gone to the man. The man will just keep it to himself. He won't actually go to the door of the Prophet ﷺ and knock the door, you know, because his feeling is his own issue. Right? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he sees this man say this, you know, I have all these issues or this problem. And so we see that companions, they felt it. They felt it. Do we say the companions lack iman? We don't. Right? They are the companions of Rasulullah. They don't lack iman, but they're human. They're human, and they felt this. So this is one of the instances, and Rasulullah said to him, shall I teach you something, right, that it will remove this heaviness that you feel, you know, this sadness or this problems, emotional issues that you feel. And the man said, of course, Ya Rasulullah, please teach me. And he said, and this is zikr, you can find it in Wirid al-Latif, right? To do 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the evening. Allahumma a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan, wa min al-ajri wal-kasal, wa min al-jubni wal-bukhul, wa min al-ghabi al-dayni wa kahri rijal. It's a long zikr, right? You can put it down, you know, later on together with the video, right? But you can find it in Wirid al-Latif, right? So it means, oh Allah, I seek your protection, right, from worry and sadness. You know, so subhanallah, you don't just find in our religion that you seek protection from shaitan or from, you know, like there is entire dhikr that speaks about I seek protection from worry, hammi wal huzn, right, and sadness, right, ajri wal kasal, you know, inability and laziness. These are problems that a human being faces, right? Chef, I lost the hammi wal hazan wal ajri wal kasal. Jubni wal bukhl, right? Jubni is cowardice, right? You don't want to be a coward, right? And bukhl, right? To be stingy. These are all diseases of that is natural to a human being. And then and for me to be overcome by debt, and for people to dislike me or to hate me, right? And you see, subhanAllah, in that one zikr or that one dua from Rasulullah SAW, it covered so many aspects, you know. And we see the prophetic way. Like, it's so beautiful, right? You see the prophetic way, you see so much beauty in it. Subhanallah.
Oh, mashallah. But okay, Ustazah, you mentioned about neglect. So, which part do you think that we have neglected? Is it our self, or is it, let's say, if I'm feeling depressed, and maybe Ustazah mentioned something about, we neglect. Is it we neglect the goodness within, or we are neglecting the people around us? Which area is
when
that?
we speak about neglect, right? There are a few aspects that we talk about. Right. The one that I was referring to, right, was basically we neglect to care about people in society. So again, we go back to the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And one of the things that he said, and then there are many of these hadiths that exist, right? One of the things that he said that he was known to push forth, right, was closeness, brotherhood, and unity between Muslims. You know, there was something that he used to champion and he used to push forth and encourage the Muslims to do so, to the point that he said that none of you truly believe until you love each other. You know, and then he said, you know, shall I show you something or tell you, point you to something that if you do, you will increase in love for each other. And they said, yes, of course, Ya Rasulullah. And then he said, spread peace or spread salams or greet. You know, something that you might think is something small or something that, you know, is not important. You know, why would it be not important if he began the hadith saying, none of you truly believe? You know, and then the very fact he began the hadith that way shows us it's a very important thing. Greet people. So the negligence here, what I'm saying is that, you know, as Muslims, we are supposed to be, you know, closer. You know, closer. We're not supposed to live our own lives and not get involved with everybody else. You know, we're human beings, right? Islam teaches us to be closer, right? So the problem with our, you know, that we see happening to our youth right now is a full disconnect.
Yes.
It's a full disconnect from what's going on with our youth and those who are older. You know, and that's where the neglect comes in. There's a neglect from that angle. Right? If you want to go into a different form of neglect, of course, as adults or as Muslims at large, right, there is a lot of neglect when it comes to our worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it comes to our dhikr, when it comes to our Quran. You know, the list goes on. You know, it goes on. Right? But I don't want to go there yet. You know, because you know, you can't just force people. You know, you can't just force people on something, right? When they are still struggling, you know, with another burden, right? You know, so it's a more of like, let's handle this first, right? Then it will bring you right to this part, right, where you will find a lot of relief and happiness. So I know, like, you know, you say, okay, a lot of teachers will say, okay, you know what, you're depressed, okay, do your zikr, you know, do your Quran, do your salat. It's correct. They are right.
Yes.
But many people are not there. So you can't say that. You know, you need to understand where people are coming from. They're not. So I can say to a student who comes to me and she says, you know, Ustazah, I'm getting a lot of problems, a lot of issues, a lot of this, a lot of that. I say to her, you know, read more Quran. I know for a fact she will not. I can say to her, and she will know I am correct, and she will not argue with me. Right? And it is correct. Read more Quran. But people are not there yet. You can't just say that. You can't just say, you know, do more istighfar. Do more salawat. It's true. You should be doing more istighfar and salawat. It's true, and there's so much in it. But people are not there yet. Right? So what neglect that we're speaking about is the taking by the hand. You know, taking by the hand and showing them, you know, first going through what's all these issues in their mind with them together, and then bringing them to something that's bigger and greater, that's more beautiful, right? But it takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort, it takes a lot of love. And I mean, I know it's cliche, right? But you know, that's what our Prophet ﷺ pointed to. If that is what he pointed to, sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
Yeah.
then that is where we look at.
Mm-hmm.
No, we don't look further than what he pointed us to, right? Because we are still not doing what he's saying.
Yeah, correct, correct.
You know, you're going to go into bigger, you know, want to discuss into all these theories and whatsoever,
Yes.
and you neglect what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, then you've missed the point.
Yeah.
And there is no solution except his solution. You know, what he has informed us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So of course, you know, this discussion can be very long.
Yeah.
If I go into what the Quran says
Yes.
and what the Hadith says and everything, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Right, but one thing that we want to focus is the communal togetherness, right? That in the modern society is very much lacking.
Yes.
This entire kampung spirit, you know, that they used to
correct,
have.
correct.
You know,
Yes,
and this
yes.
is something that you know, it gives people strength. You know, so the modern day has this full, you know, ironically, where we're supposed to be more connected,
Yeah.
we are more disconnected. Right, even in the family unit.
Yeah.
Right, so when parents are not connected to their children, and that's a tragedy.
Yes,
Right
it is,
there,
it
it's
is.
tragedy.
That's what's leading to
It's what's leading to this because they're
yes,
disconnected.
youth suicides
So
and
they,
all
they,
that.
they don't
Yes.
feel when things are happening to them in their lives, where do I go for guidance? What do I do? Right,
Yep.
and then subhanallah.
Yeah, but I find that okay, for the youth community itself, right? We have our young, and we're looking at maybe in the 20s range, age range, or even teenagers, even primary school children are ending their own lives. So because of the pressure, it could be the societal pressure, and as you said, it's the togetherness that's lacking. So in that respect, right? Okay, we have two concerns over here. The first one being that if, let's say, because when someone is depressed, it can be loosely termed. So they'll be like, oh, I'm depressed. But actually they might not be depressed. They might just feel a little bit sad, because depression can be can go up to a clinical stage. But for the youths, you know, they get depressed, and the issues that lead them to feeling such a way, boy-girl relationships, you know, the technology and also the media exposure, the censorship of the media also plays a part. So the teenagers are getting caught up with that. So much so that I think in terms of religious-wise, right, that's where it's lacking, and that's where the family unit plays a part, you see. So when the teenagers, I mean, I think it hasn't changed from decades ago, where the teenagers, when they get upset, they get sad, they go into their room, they lock themselves up in the room, and they wallow up in self-pity on their own and things like that. So in that respect, right, how can we encourage parents or the community or neighbors, in fact, teachers as well, to actually approach these teenagers, because most likely they're not going to tell you that they are depressed. So how can they actually approach without getting the teenager, who is already very exposed to non-Islamic material, to be more soft and to be more open about their feelings? Yeah.
What you're saying here is basically we're seeing the consequence. We're seeing a consequence of years of build up, you know, of maybe neglect.
Yeah.
Or no connection with parents or whatsoever. You know, there's basically what we're seeing with these teenagers is just a symptom, right? It's like an effect, like an end effect of many years, you know, of basically being left. In a sense, you're seeing that, right? Which is why you can't have an overnight solution also, right? Because there's this entire baggage.
Yeah.
You know, that you can understand, you get what I'm saying. Yes. Right? There's this full years of, because if by right, in Islam, it begins when they are very young. Right, the entire, you know, the entire tarbiyah, the entire bring them through Islam and everything, it begins when they are very young. Okay, so we're talking about people who is gone, is finished. They are already 20 years old. Right? It was not done for them. When they were young, the connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not done for them. When they were growing up, they were not they were not brought to classes, they were not brought to asatiza, they were not trained on the Quran, they were not trained on so this has happened for them. It has happened, and now they're 20 years old, right? So you get what I'm saying, right? So there is this full thing that did not happen for them. So now we're seeing this. What do we do? That's the question, right?
Yeah. Is it too
What,
late?
you know,
or-
is it too late? It's never too late, inshallah. It's
Yeah.
never too late. Right, at this point, right, subhanallah, at this point, this teenager who's locked up, you know, and facing all these kind of issues, and he does not want to speak to his parents at all, and the parents cannot force themselves in. Right, he's too old already.
Yes.
You can't take him by the hand anymore. He's going to give you his hand.
Yeah. Correct. Correct.
Right?
Yes.
He's
yes.
not a small child anymore. He does not want to give his hand.
Yeah.
He does not want to let you in. He does not want to go for class. He does not want to do what you say to do. You want to bring him go to Umrah. Come, let's go to Umrah. No, I don't want. Right? He's at an age whereby he's an adult.
Yeah.
But without the upbringing that he should have had. Right? What do we do at this point? So now the parent is realizing, what do I do? You know, or now you see your child, you know, before you know it, he's so influenced by the media, you know, and he's going, or she is going into this, you know, self-image, you know, that's being out there and whatsoever. So, you know, now it has already happened. It's here right now, right? At this point, and I'm going to say something that, you know, but it is something that the ulama, they do say very, very strongly, right? For the sincere parent, and all parents are sincere, mashallah, right? You know, all parents want the best for their children.
Yeah.
For this parent who has recognized that she did not give, or he did not give her child like this foundation from the very beginning.
Yep.
You know, we're assuming they didn't give. If they did give, then the child at this point, he would know what's right and what's wrong. Right? At this point, he would know what to do. Right? But if I'm assuming those who were not given, right, and now they're at this age, right? The scholars say, right, that at this point, right, this parent, she really or he really needs to go into desperate dua. That means wake up every single night. Show how serious you are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it's a full tangled mess inside. You see that?
Yes.
So it's not a one-time solution.
Yeah.
Right? But it has to work from the inside. You have to spark off an interest from himself. Right? To want to get close to the religion.
Yeah.
You can't take him by the throat. You can't force it down his throat.
Correct.
And it has to come from them. They're too old for you to force. And parents must understand that. They are too old. The ship has sailed.
Yeah.
You know, they are now their own adult, their own human being. Right? What do you do at this point?
Right.
You make desperate dua. What is desperate dua? Right? Desperate dua is, you know, you wake up in the middle of the night. Right? You do your wudu. You pray 2 rak'ats. Right? Some of the scholars say you do yasin. Right, and then you go into a desperate call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, to soften the heart of my child. Right, soften, and also to tawbat. Right, to tawbat, you know, and I tawbat that I didn't know how to bring him up. You know, I didn't know this was happening to my child. I didn't know that I was neglecting. I didn't know, you know, because a lot of us, we don't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
You know, no parent would want, you know, these things to happen to their child on purpose. But the thing is that, you know, we are swept up by the time. You know, and the changes in the time of the media especially was too quick. Especially for our parents, our generation. Our parents, that it hit them, it caught them by storm. And they didn't realize there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's this, there's that. You know, so in a sense, they're even not to be blamed because they were caught. You know, and then before they knew it, their child is hating herself. You know, before they knew it. Right? So at this point, right, really, there has to be desperate dua at this point. From the parent, the dua is accepted, inshallah. There has to be that, right? And then, you know, there has to be a befriending. Befriending. Because from the parent to the child.
Okay.
Right? Or whoever is involved with the child's life, right? So if you're the teacher, the counselor, whatever. I know, you know, but this is what works, right? There has to be, you can't force it. You can't force it. And the more you force it, the more they flee. Right? The more they run, the more they close the door, they shut the door, they lock you out.
Yes,
right?
Correct.
But the more you judge, the more they run away from you. So don't tell them to do stuff. They won't accept it. You must really understand them. You know, understand them.
Yeah.
And then what do? Okay, befriend. Right, befriend, take it slow, take it easy. Right, that means you have to do the work that was not done. It has to be you must qada, so-called,
the approach lah.
Yeah,
the
the approach,
has to be
because
different.
by right,
Yep.
the befriending happened between the ages of 0 to 7. There is, as Ali said,
Right.
and then 7 to 14 there is the training, and then there is this entire upbringing of children. So the scholars say if you did not do it
Yep.
for them, you must start from ground zero. Right? So you must restart the befriending.
I see.
Right, then you must restart the trust.
Yeah,
Then you must
yeah.
restart, because it was not done.
It will
It
take
still has
time.
to be done.
Yes.
So
True,
subhanallah.
true.
So I would just say that at this point, just to be the friendly ear, right? The ear to listen, to be available, to be approachable. Make yourself available. Make yourself approachable, right? Not to be judgmental in any way, because you're already trying to tiptoe around this, right? So that because you were trying to draw them in,
Yep.
right? Draw them in, let them trust you.
Yeah.
And once it's slow, it's a process,
Yeah.
but you can't rush it because it's a lot, as you mentioned, it's a tangled mess.
Right.
You have to pick it out slowly, right? You can't rush it. But inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy.
Inshallah.
Right? So you pull them,
Right.
right? And once they begin more comfortable with you as the parent or as the teacher or the auntie or whoever you are,
Yeah.
then, you begin to insert religious advice slowly and surely, right? And you let them take the reins, to their own, approach to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You teach them calling out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You teach them, for me, when I handle these people, I will always put in, when are du'as mustajab. Now, they love this kind of topics, when are du'as mustajab. We speak about, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, and when my servant asks you of me, right, tell them I am near. Right? There's no tell them, in fact, the answer is I am near. Right? And I answer the one who calls when he calls, which means there is no condition to the one who calls except that he calls. There's only one condition, that you call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So
Right.
in a sense, at this age, right, for this youngster, for the parent to also insert, that you don't have to tell me anything. Right? But I hope you're speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I hope you're speaking to him. Because as long as they know who to turn to, doesn't have to be you. They know who to turn to. And they are fine. They are fine if they know how to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is the key. So even if they can't do more Quran or zikr or prayers or whatsoever, at least teach them. Talk to Allah. Tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? There is a hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam whereby he said that La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Just to say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, which means there is no power and no strength except with Allah. It is, the hadith goes, it is a cure for 99 diseases, the least of which is worry. So Rasulullah, he actually identified worry, or hum is like worry or depression, right, as to be one of the diseases in which La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah would cure. 99 diseases. Subhanallah. So if we, subhanallah, it's kind of things,
Yeah.
whereby, and if you see that they're not doing it, you do it. Right? When they are asleep, you go to them, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Make it a practice. Right? Because why? We believe in the words of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Salam. Wow, mashallah, Ustazah. Okay, one last question before we end our discussion. This is actually quite, I would say, cliche, because we have friends who, in the younger generation, and they've not been exposed much, because of probably from the family upbringing. Parents are probably also not exposed or did not expose them to the having a religious upbringing and so on. So when you have friends, let's say you share with your friends about your problems, and then your friends will tell you to zikir, istighfar. And then I've had feedback from friends who would tell me that they feel uncomfortable when they get that kind of advice. So how can we actually attract them to be more familiar, or to familiarize themselves, or to feel more in tune with the religion when it comes to all like having such problems? Zikir, istighfar is actually the best advice, but yet we tend to be ignorant. So, and that is also happening in our youth as well. Yeah. So, is there any advice that you can also give to our youth so that they can be more attracted to Islam?
And that is what we were saying just now, right? That you can't just tell people, you know. You were saying that you can just
correct.
tell people to zikr and istighfar. While we know it is the solution, it is, but people are not there yet. That's why they say they feel uncomfortable because they're not there yet.
Yes.
You know, they're still where they're at.
Yeah.
Right. So so this kind of situation, right? It is it is really they will find the familiarity or the comfort, right? First in the friendship. We're going to go back there. We're going to go back there.
Okay.
Because that's where human beings find, insan is from uns. Right, uns, right? That means they find solace with each other. So human beings do. This is our nature. We find solace with another human being. Especially if you click, in some way your souls, you feel a comfort between yourselves. Right. So so before you actually say all of these things, right? And in fact, subhanAllah, sometimes for me, when my students come up to me, I don't actually say it, right? But I show it in my behavior. Right, so the way I speak to them, like I'll put in Allahumma Sayyidina Muhammad. You put in your own zikrs. You put in. So when they see you in a state that you're in, so and in Arabic they will say, even in English, the tongue of the state speaks louder than the tongue of the mouth. The tongue of the state, lisan al-maqal, afsah min lisan al-hal, afsah min lisan al-maqal. The tongue of the state is more eloquent, is clearer, right, than the tongue of the mouth. Right. So in this situation, and that is the way of our Prophet ﷺ also. Like he would show gentleness in himself. He would draw people in by the beauty of his character. That's first. That's always first. And then they would observe and they would see, he does a lot of zikr. And they would see, he's very gentle with his words. They will begin to observe. And slowly you will see them being drawn in. Because zikr is not something to be forced. It's not something to be forced. You can prescribe it. You can tell people to do it. And subhanAllah, my teachers, they will do it to us when I was going through some difficulty when I was studying in Tarim, emotional difficulty. I went to one of my teachers and she said to me, she gave me a list of salawats to do. But because they know you're there, you can do it. She gives to me 5,000 times. That kind of thing, They know you're there. But when my students come up to me, I will give them a simple one. I will say to them, okay, if you're going through very difficult time, something easy that you can do. Right? Prayer 5 times a day prayers. Right, that's the first thing. Right? And she said this to me, and I will always tell to my students, right after you pray, right, put your hand on your heart. Right, say salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. One time, just give me one time. You make it easy for them. Like don't put something heavy. They're not there yet. They're not there yet. Right, one salawat. Give me one salawat. Right, and then say Allahumma adhif huzna qalbi. Right, which means it's a dua. Oh Allah, remove the sadness in my heart. That's it. Right after you pray, you give one salawat. You say, Ya Allah, remove the sadness in my heart. Because dua right after prayer is accepted. Right? She gave me a whole list of things to do. Right? But I won't tell my students that because I know they will not do it. It's too heavy. It's too much. You give them one thing. Say salawat and say, Ya Allah, remove the sadness in my heart. Put your hand on your heart. Ya Allah, with full feeling, remove the sadness in my heart. Dah. Can do. Can. Now I'll tell my students, can you do it? Can you do it? Do it for me.
Yes.
Okay, 5 times a day, each time you pray, do this, please. It will do wonders. Right? And subhanAllah, so many of my students will come thereafter and say, subhanAllah, Ustazah, right, the pain that I was feeling went. It just went. Subhanallah. So sometimes you want to give all these formulas of zikr and whatever, make it easy. Make it easy on them. And you know what? Give it to them in English. Because they can internalize better. They can feel it better. If I say, Allahumma adhib huzna qalbi, right, you'll be like, huh? When I say, oh Allah, remove the sadness in my heart, straight away you're like, you feel it in English. And dua can be in any language. It's not an issue.
Yes, of course.
So I'll say, give them something easy. that you think they can handle. You know, 5 salawats a day. Give me 5 salawats a day. You know, or the zikr that Rasulullah gave just now. Or la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. You know, give them a number.
Yep.
You know, like easy, something easy. You know, that they can do.
Yeah, inshallah, Allah will hear us if we speak from the heart, and also when we salat to really, because Allah knows what's in your heart, and when you say it with full feeling, inshallah, you know, Allah will hear your prayers. Thank you so much, Ustazah, for joining us. Inshallah, in the upcoming episodes, we will have Ustazah Farhana on board as well. God wills, and we thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay.